We're gonna get started.
Oh, prayers for a quick
We
one.
have,
Yeah.
there's 11 of us, right, so we have quorum. Owen, might make it, he might not make it. So we will call to order, we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America,
and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is the recording going? Do we know? Do we have to do anything?
That's a good question.
Something's happening, yeah.
It's a little
delay.
delayed.
On screen.
We're on string, I don't know if
Okay. Well.
that means record.
There was a book, there's a pamphlet here to use it.
Oh.
And
Lock the door,
meeting
that was all I did.
instructions. So it's just to end it, so
Oh,
Is there anything else?
nothing, just still
Word to
nothing.
word?
It must be automatic.
Agree.
No, I don't think
Okay.
it is.
I'm not sure, but I'm texting him and asking him, so we'll move forward.
Just a sec.
Anyway, we'll just,
Because you got those emails right from him. I thought that was the 23rd they weren't gonna be able to make it.
that's
Check those
correct.
emails,
He's
so-
just run into something
Oh, okay.
unexpected.
Oh.
Okay, we'll start with roll call.
Jill Eldridge. Charlotte Fife.
Donna Danis, Vice Chair.
Carol Martin. Karen Quinn?
Susan Levinson, school board rep.
Jeffrey Morrison.
Robert Kelly.
Okay, next on the agenda is public comment. Since we have no public here, there's no comments. We'll move on. The next is the town Q3 update.
Is that you?
You have an update for us?
Oh, yes, I do, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Your Q3 update.
Yeah, the select board has started to get input from the various department heads. We have scheduled 3 select board meetings to start actually hearing from the department heads this month. We'll be way ahead of the game, I hope, from past years. The first will be this Monday. We'll be hearing from, I'm not sure it's changing, but the bigger departments, I think, will be getting police and fire. The following week, I'm not sure of the dates, I don't have the calendar right in front of me. The following Monday, we'll have another meeting that will also be open, obviously, to the public. And the department heads from Highway Department and Rec, I believe, will be presenting. And then we have a third meeting on the 27th. And that is, so we have plenty of time for everybody and to get in any other questions that we need to. Right now, we're in pretty good shape for meeting our budget and not going over it. But naturally, we are concerned about the tax cap and avoiding going backwards with that. So we've got our work cut out for us.
So for Q3, no surprises in terms of what you expect and where we would be?
Nope.
Expenses relative to budget
No,
at
we're
this
right.
point in
No,
time?
we're in good shape right now, yeah. But things, there are a lot of open questions
Right,
still.
and stuff comes in at the
At the end of the
Q4.
year, yeah. But right now, there's nothing that I'm concerned about, and I think the rest of the select board is going, okay, we're holding the line, we're doing pretty well.
Okay. Questions?
No?
Do you see any impact from the government shutdown that would impact the town's budget from now to the end of the year?
Yes. Yeah, I think that we'll be looking at the welfare line, for one thing. We'll also be, well, not so much from the government shutdown, although it may affect some of our fire department assets that are sent down from the federal government through the state. So we'll be looking closely at that. I know the school has concerns as well about money that's coming through. Susan will bring us up to date on that. Otherwise, it's very hard to know, other than that it seems likely everything will be more expensive.
Okay, but nothing real expensive, nothing real specific at
Nothing
this point in time?
specific, no,
Okay.
still
Okay.
just trickling down now.
Okay. All good on the town? Any, no questions? Okay. Sue, Q1 update.
So, I'd like to introduce Paul Livingston from TMS. They're a consulting group that has been on board since the late summer. And they are working on, we also have another consultant in-house as well. And so June 30th, 2025 has been closed up, and the MS 25 and the DOE 25 are in process, and the board has seen a preliminary report and will be signing off probably at the next meeting. Mr. Livingston has been working looking at the system and doing all kinds of things, so he's graciously volunteered to be here this evening just to bring you up to date on what's happening. And then also, I have a handout for you on section 19820B, which is the unanticipated funds that we had
Oh,
talked
yeah.
about
Yeah.
at the last meeting, so we can just have that and passed out and have a brief discussion on that if you wish. And enrollment at the last meeting had been brought up. We will be getting an enrollment report in one of our next meetings. So I did bring just preliminary data for everyone. Pre-K is 35 students. Kindergarten has 64 students. First grade is 57, second is 58, third is 57, fourth is 54, fifth grade is 44, sixth grade is 65, seventh is 55, and eighth is 47. So as always, for budget considerations, we're looking at the number of students moving forward to the high schools and the tuition that we'll be paying and so forth. So we'll be providing an actual report soon.
So that's the current enrollment?
That's the current
Yep,
enrollment. Yep.
okay.
Okay, and I wanted to just get this, so.
So so this about the unanticipated funds, the reason this came up was because I think everybody's familiar with how the town has the fund where you can put aside like contingent, what's the name of the fund? I'm forgetting it.
Contingencies.
But you can put aside a certain amount of money that you can have in the event, the general fund, in the event of, emergencies, or you can use it to reduce taxes. So it's almost like a rainy day fund. But the school is different, and we talked about that at the last meeting, because the school really can't build up
Correct.
a
We're
general
not-
fund like that. But the question was around, there is some savings mechanism for the school, but we were trying to wrap our heads around where that comes from.
So that comes from fund balance at the end of the year, if there is fund balance. When you look at the warrants, they go in order. So when the town approves money to go into a capital reserve account, we'll have at the end of the year our fund balance. Some of it is reserved, some of it is unassigned, and we would be taking in the order in which they're placed on the ballot and moving those funds over. And then if there's anything left after that, then we will have voted prior or to hold some of it. So essentially, it just doesn't go back to the taxpayers during that period to offset taxes, whereas the balance of our fund balance typically would. So it's more of a timing issue. It would just be held back for that particular year, and then it rolls forward.
Okay, so it doesn't accumulate like
We
the town.
cannot accumulate year over year like a municipality can. School districts cannot. This is a fairly recent mechanism for schools to be able to have some funds in the event of an emergency. And as you can see, looking at this, you have to really go through the motions to use it.
Okay,
So I think you have to talk to the budget committee, the commissioner, hold hearings and so forth. So it really is an emergency fund.
Okay.
And we did just vote at our last meeting to hold 200,000 into this contingency fund. So,
okay.
that's that answer.
So the big thing is like, it's kind of there based on excess funds, but it doesn't accumulate from year to year. So
Can't
if there
hold
is
it.
some left and it's not used, then it goes towards
It'll go
the
back.
reducing the tax burden for the next year.
That's just part of the fund balance for the
Right,
next
it's just
year.
part of fund balance.
So each
Which
year
goes
you could
towards-
hold, say, 200. but
Yeah.
Now,
it
am I
would
thinking of
never-
another fund that can retain 2.5%?
This is the state has allowed for 5%. At the time that this occurred, the budget committee weighed in. Some folks probably recall the conversation, I think it was back a few years now. And the budget committee didn't really love the idea of a full 5, and so we placed on the ballot 2.5%. So the voters have allowed the school district to use up to 2.5% of fund balance in this manner.
Thank you. Any questions on that for Sue? Everybody?
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
So when you said when you give money back and I'm sorry, not money back, but you try to fund the warrant articles in order, so do you put them in order, but what happens if one down below needs more?
So we put them in order, we discuss that at meetings, and when we do the ballot, we actually discuss the structure of the ballot and the order in which these will appear.
So the most important would be one, you know,
Higher
article at the
priorities
top
would
one.
go sooner, and if there's not enough fund balance to fund, then they don't get anything.
So when you go down in order, do you try to max each fund out totally, or just, I see sometimes like 20,000 here, 30,000 this one?
Yep, so what we do is we
Okay.
talk with, we would be talking with Mr. Livingston. We would be talking with our special education director. So we'll talk to our curriculum director. So what do you think you need in the textbook fund? This is what we have right now. What do we have coming up? So you're always trying to anticipate, roll those balances forward and determine what you need to do in terms of funding to ensure you have what you think is a reasonable amount. And two that I think are the high volume ones, I'm sorry, turning on, would be the facilities, the building maintenance repair fund and the special education fund.
Which is what the
what I was
CIP informs the
Yeah.
amount that you put into the building fund.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna think. I would have thought special education should be number one.
Well, it already has a
Yeah, we have it pretty
100,000.
pretty
Pretty good
fairly
amount.
funded right now, and
I thought 300,000 was reasonable.
yeah, I think we're probably, I think we may have, Mr. Livingston may have those numbers. We can get them
Sure.
as we progress through the discussion on the budget and
I thought
everything.
that's what we were talking about throughout the years, 250, 300,000, not 100,000, that's not,
260, I think, in that
that's
one.
not gonna be enough.
228,
Okay, 228,000, all right, thank you.
so we'd be looking to do some funding on that one probably come March. That's maybe a good opportunity to introduce Mr. Livingston. He's been doing a lot of work, getting things in order for us.
Good to meet everybody.
Welcome.
Give me a chance to say welcome to Carol.
Carol's a former school board member.
Oh, okay. Congratulations, you guys. Thanks for having us tonight. We're here to answer any questions that come along. Just a little bit on myself. I was a music teacher way back when. I then became a school business administrator for about 5 years, and then I was a superintendent for over 20 years. In regional schools, all of my work was in Massachusetts though. So coming to New Hampshire, learning to live free and die, unique. I had that exact same question of, if you have funds, how do the articles get, do you pick and choose or whatever? And I found out you go down from one to the other in order. And we actually did have the funds available this year. There was 75,000 that had been voted in articles that, if you remember, you had done 325,000 for, I think, some HVAC kind of work. And you had done a kiln, and those were approved, raise and appropriate funding. But there were 3 outstanding ones, and those actually were 15,000 for grounds maintenance, which brings that balance to $120,055.84. Special ed, we had 25,000 pending. That brought it to 228,864.33. You had textbooks where we added 10,000, so the new balance is 47,302. And then you had a tuition fund that brought in another $20,000 for 45, for a total of $45,000 being in the fund available. So those 3 articles actually were funded, and as Susan had said, the 200,000 was voted to be the protection, the reserve fund, and I'm learning a lot of your lingo, so I'm sorry if I'm not saying it exactly correctly. And then $100,000 is being returned if I understand correctly, to the town to relieve the tax rate, so that's helpful. I just wanted to share a couple things that we're doing, that, hopefully is bringing a little bit more transparency into where the accounting is being done and how it's being done. I have to first thank Andy and Kathy and Laurie. It's basically a whole new team in place. Kathy has been there for 1 year and doing the bookkeeping, and she's just been outstanding. She's learning a lot. Laurie is a brand new administrative assistant, Laurie Eaton, and Andy obviously is new to the town, as am I. New Hampshire is new to me, and you do have some different ways of doing things. As like anything, some I think are awesome, some are unique, some are a little quirky, just like in Massachusetts. We all have the same stuff going on. I just want to share a couple of things that we're doing that I think are important for you to hear, for the community to hear, and will help us manage this budget well. I've been in places during my superintendent's career. I was in that one place where I went in, lived in Massachusetts. I went in, in the early 2000s, and I got there and I looked at the budget and I said, "You're like short $1 million." I mean, this was a tiny Littleton, it wasn't a big town. And we don't deal with that, man. And I said, well, I don't go to jail for it. So we're gonna fix this. I had a very supportive school board, a couple of accountants on the school board. We fixed the problem. We had to eliminate some things. We had to end some things. We had to change lots of things. But we ended the year positively. Final job that I had before I retired was in Pentucket Regional. They were under a state finance control board, meaning that they had been so messed up that they had an actual law voted that they could borrow up to $2.5 million. And, it was voted by the whole state legislature. I got there and I said, "Where's your staff database?" Huh? I said, "Well, how do you, we put them in payroll, we paid." They didn't have a staff database. It was at the time in Massachusetts when a lot of fees were being added, such as athletic fees, bus fees, all kinds of parking fees, anything under the sun because it was short. They basically lost all control of finance. They didn't know where it was. We had 3 communities, Groveland, West Newbury, and Merrimack, and the state, having looked, none of them could see. I said, "Where's the staff database?" I took the salaries, put everybody down, we got that in place. We didn't even know what to do. I didn't have to borrow $2.5 million. I had to spend $1 million, so everybody didn't go crazy, and I had to put the other $1.5 million in our reserve fund that we should have. The regional school district, as a little bit like here, should have something in case a boiler blows, a roof has a problem, special ed has a problem, something like that. So I've seen all sides of this, and they're all a little unique and a little different, and the problems are all a little unique. But a couple things we're putting in place, I think, hopefully will make you feel comfortable. I asked for a staff database. We don't have one. We're putting one in place. It's in the Tyler financial system. We're pulling it all together so that we can, always have that current. That's 85% of your budget. That's between salaries and FICA and retirement and all that. It allows us basically to use Tyler much more to the max, the financial software that we have. We're putting the accountability back to the source of the spending, where the information is, and if accounts are going out of line, there's to be a transfer from one account to the next. So we can manage that and understand we don't approve a PO with the amount going over unless there's a transfer in place. So that's an accountability that's not been in place here before. We're looking at trying to find a way in Tyler, and I think there is a way, to encumber not just the base salary, not just the core salary, but also the FICA and the New Hampshire teachers' retirement, which are big percentages. FICA is 7.65%, and the New Hampshire teachers' retirement portion that the employer pays is 19.23%. So it's hefty, it's big dollars. We're sending out a monthly report to the school committee. I'm going to share one with you tonight. But there's also an account detail report that goes out to the schools, I call them all budget managers or cost center managers is what I would call them, the principal, the special ed, the food service, the grants, the athletics, the library, you know, all the different folks that have their lines. So that they can dig deep and see if they look at a line and thinks that it's over, maybe something was put there inappropriate, you know, and we can fix that. So then we can move it back where it belongs. Obviously, the history here has been a little bumpy along the road, so there isn't a lot of past practice or procedures really in place that everybody's comfortable with. And, you know, a new team, I'm sure people are looking at, well, what, you know, what's this group gonna do? There's gonna be another new team next year. Well, I come from best practice. Our company, TMS, goes into many communities in Vermont, Rhode Island, many in Massachusetts, and Connecticut. This is our first job coming up to New Hampshire, right? But we look at best practice and we're putting in standard procedures like that database, like transfer forms, like holding people accountable to that, and sharing monthly reports. So hopefully those things, as I share with the community and share with folks, that people understand that those are in place and should continue going forward. Reimbursements, there are a lot of reimbursements in this district prior to, you know, this year. There were some over the summer, I've only been here 7 weeks. But we're eliminating reimbursements to only a point where there has to be an emergency or a vendor that doesn't take a PO. We're finding more vendors don't take POs because, as you know, so much happens now with credit cards and Venmo and all the different ways, but we're putting everything on POs unless it's really an emergency and somebody doesn't take something. And we're trying to collaborate and communicate not only externally with you folks, but also with the cost center managers, as I call them, the principal of a small district, but they still have cost center managers. And they would submit their budgets that would come before the town, and then things would change to cut. Maybe when you were on the school board, you might have heard some of the scuttlebutt, and they wouldn't know it had been changed at all when they came back to school. So the whole idea, my life has been one of collaboration. You know, we may achieve when we're alone, but together we're going to succeed. And when you involve people, there's a lot better, you know, end result overall. So those are the things that, you know, we're doing to keep track of this as we go along. The budget is being developed right now. Massachusetts would typically develop a budget in December and not start talking about it till January. So it's been a quick turnaround for my learning curve, but you'll be seeing that in the future. It has to go to the school board, obviously, first. I'm learning to say school board instead of school committee. In Massachusetts, there's school committees, so I'm trying to get my lingo right. And I just have one thing to share with you tonight.
Can I just ask one question?
Oh,
though?
sure.
Go back to the reimbursements. Can you explain that again and give me examples of what you're talking about?
Reimbursements were, you know, folks would go out and buy things, materials, whatever. And it's also not a good procurement practice, because if you give 20 people, you know, buy your crayons, buy your construction paper, buy whatever, well, you get a new teacher that comes in, and I did this when I was a new business manager. I didn't buy Crayola crayons. I bought the wrong crayons. And I was a music teacher. I didn't do a lot of coloring in classes. And, you know, the crayons break if you don't buy the good ones. So when you're procuring in multiple ways with different people, somebody going to Walmart, somebody going to Dollar Tree, somebody going to the school specialty store, you're getting different things. And you can also get better prices when you buy them more in a volume. So those kinds of things were happening and were diversified and spread out. And, you know, if they were shopping in Massachusetts, we didn't do tax in Massachusetts, things like that. But you just get you really can't control that spending. And, you know, you do get your cash receipts back, you get an invoice per se, and so you know what you're buying, but
Yep.
it's coming from all different places. So that's what I mean by reimbursement.
Just to clarify just a little bit further, because the board had a similar question. When you hear reimbursement, you think maybe travel.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that's what I was
So-
wondering.
So those are different. This is a discussion more about supplies, I think.
Yeah.
And there had
Yeah.
been a practice that was written up, I guess, in the past through administration that teachers would have a set dollar amount and they could go ahead and get their supplies. And so then that led to some of the things that you're hearing. So what they want to have done is you've got a budget, you've got a purchase rec, you've got a PO, and then we're gonna order to that. We're not gonna be shopping around and then submitting receipts. So it's more around typical purchases than what you typically think of as a reimbursement.
Thank you for clarifying, because that's exactly
Trying to
it. I mean,
streamline
travel,
it a little bit.
Well, just to make sure, I think that, you know, there's a lot of things that happen with this, and you want that three-way match at the end against your purchase order when you pay something. So you don't want a myriad of incoming, trying to figure out where am I on this line and so forth. One thing I think the board will be talking about again probably is this wanting to see the line detail that we're accustomed to, because line item movement is the purview of the board, not that we
Yeah.
wanna
Yep.
get too much into that, but, so that's kind of where we are, but just really trying to tighten things up, and I think, Carol, you had always mentioned, you know, we really wanna understand those modules of Tyler that we're
Oh yeah,
paying.
there was a lot that I think wasn't being fully used.
Yeah,
Yeah, I would say another example I just remember from being on the board is even just things like books that are for professional development or used even in the classrooms, like those types of things that people would just order them on Amazon or order them wherever, and maybe you won't get a better price through a PO for that, but certainly things that multiple teachers are ordering, you shouldn't
right.
each
you
just
get those-
order your own.
Amazon is a tricky buy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
because the prices change every
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
And granted, you may save money today, but then you buy something, it's not good procurement.
Yeah.
Right.
Does it make it
Yeah.
easier for teachers because they're not outlaying their own money? Or are they still?
Well, it's a staff equity issue. I mean, because now you're relying on teachers to, you know, use their own personal credit cards
Ooh,
or
that-
bank
that's
accounts
my-
or
that's my
whatever. I mean,
point.
it's
Yeah.
just poor business practice to
Yeah.
have staff people using personal.
And that's not something that we
Thinking.
want, that we encouraged or wanted, but I do think there was a procedure at one point where the business administrator had indicated to the team, you can have X amount to, I think it was $200.
I would say what I remember was $200, so you're talking about small purchases over the
went
course
to
of a year,
$250.
$200 over.
$200 might be a lot for a lot of teachers.
But over the course of a year, so it's not like they're doing it all at once, but they also probably got stuff faster by not having to go through.
Yeah,
So what
yeah.
they're not gonna like is that it's gonna
Yeah.
take longer to get everything.
And that's why we're trying to stress procurement requires planning,
Right.
Yes.
to plan a little bit ahead.
Yeah.
That's how, then we can oversee it and make sure that it's been accurate along the way.
Yeah, company cards, they wouldn't issue company cards, like a school card, you know what I mean, that's how we do
There
it.
is a
We get
policy
hotels,
on
meals and
that for
stuff.
purchase cards and things. There is a policy, and we had even done some ACH approvals probably 2 years ago now. So there is a lot of that, but it's just a matter, I think, of diligence and attention to detail and following through. So, you know, and again, the big piece in this too is fully utilizing Tyler Tech, because that's a system that costs us $29,000, $30,000 a year. It can do a lot for us, and we got it because we are a smaller district, and it helps to have proper systems to support things, so we want to fully.
We've actually just added something that we can.
I work in construction and stuff like that, and the past 2 or 3 years, everything goes on a PO now. Everything goes
Yeah.
on an approved PO.
Yeah.
We used to do the same thing. Oh, you can go get this, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
gets too convoluted. So
Yeah.
you can spend this amount, and you can order what you want or whatever specific job, but it's all tracked through a PO.
Makes
Purchase
sense.
cards have a lot of potential for fraud, so like,
Yes.
I work for the university system and we've taken away
Yeah.
people's purchase cards almost across the board. Because
And-
of fraudulent
and
charges.
The joint buying for a larger organization, you know, saves some money.
Sure.
I was looking for a collaborative purchasing agency within within New Hampshire. We have 7 in Massachusetts, but I can't find one.
There is one in New Hampshire.
There is the state does publish a list of approved vendors and some with bids and things like that. I don't think Nottingham, I've looked at it recently, I don't think Nottingham has really used it a lot. I mean, the schools, I'm not speaking to other parts. But that might be a potential to use, particularly in facilities, because some of those larger things that could be procured in a better way, at least ask and look and see if they can. It's, it's a learning curve, but I just want to share with you, and this is an overview report. The way we're looking at things is through, you have your revenue at top, but then basically you have, the overall expenses. And when you see the line item budget that you'll be seeing, it will go by the SAU, by the principal's office, by the library, by the nurse, by this, so that it's broken into those, what as I'm calling, cost centers, that really allow us to look deeply into what that's all about. So this is an overview report, and you shared it to the school committee.
Thank you.
Keep one. And this is being looked at regularly. You've probably seen something like this before. We'll get it down to just quickly orientate you to it. As I said, this is a top level. The account lines will be in all of our budgets and things. I'm still trying to understand New Hampshire revenues because, even on this agenda, when you say the town is giving you the Q3 report and the schools are giving you the Q1 report, I was here about 3 weeks until I found out that you're on different fiscal years, and I went, oh, that's interesting. How do you do that one? So, the revenues are the top 3 sections, but then your expenses come down. And basically, you're just looking at the budget, the range to date, which is typically I do it year to date because looking at it month by month isn't really useful. Your year to date amount, what's been encumbered, what the budget balance is, and the percent that's been used. So if you're looking down along here, you see all of a sudden at the bottom, you see speech contracted service total, 224%. Well, that immediately pops out, and I just want to share with you that that's something that we're monitoring very closely, because maybe you've heard in newspapers or from family and friends, occupational therapists, physical therapists, vision specialists, speech specialists, they're very difficult to find. We have positions open where we've been unable to fill because we can't find people. So you have to go to a contracted service. That line says it's over by that amount. However, because there were salary amounts in there, at a certain point, we will transfer the salary money into those lines to cover that expense. I don't want to do it too soon. It's only 7-8 weeks into school, because we may hire somebody in November or December, and then we only want to transfer, a portion of the money to cover the contractor that's been filling the role. As we get further along in the year, we will need to transfer perhaps the whole amount, because it looks like we're going to have a contractor for the whole year. So, and not only can we pull those amounts from the salary line, but we can pull them from the FICA line and from the teacher's retirement line as well. So, then as you go down through the rest, you can see the various, this is going down, and a couple things we're just watching very closely, but right now we're on track. We're trying to pull, the strings back together again so that we're holding on to the balloons and none are getting away from us. So I think we're in a good place. I've done this for a while. I've been in education almost 50 years.
So tell me again the difference between year-to-date and range-to-date?
In this report, it's basically the same, all right? A range to date can be set that it would be a month. You could do it.
So you're just setting it as a year?
Yeah.
Okay.
If you look at the very top, it has the from date, so that's from the beginning of the fiscal.
Yeah, I mean, looking at school spending every month, I don't know what you gain from that, or what you would even in any town budget, honestly. That column could probably actually be removed if I look at it. So in the short time I've been here, I hope we're making some progress. I think we are. I think we're feeling a little better about where we're headed. Every day is a new adventure, but we're handling the differences and the changes that we see and making the best of them. We'll appreciate any input from you folks. As I said, I've worked in a collaborative spirit and a communication kind of way for many years. Alone you achieve, but together you succeed.
So just a couple more questions that I have.
Please.
If you look at the grand total,
Yep.
So grand total versus expense total, and your grand total has a 2,494.
That's partially from the revenue piece that we're still trying to figure. I mean, we have plenty of revenue.
Don't get it, so,
It's not been adjusted, the revenue. We've just actually now started working more closely with the treasurer, Suzanne Boscom, I think that's his name, because that had not been perhaps as close a relationship as we really need to make sure that we're monitoring that fully.
I have a question.
I'm not sure.
I'm still confused. Yeah, I'm still confused about it too.
We can probably follow up at the
I
board meeting, get
I
a
think
better-
if you're really looking at the
clarity.
expense total is where we're at.
So if you look back at the revenues, local education tax, there hasn't been any revenue that has
Right.
come from.
Right.
So that's money that should have come from the town.
Right.
I assume.
Right, and that's where we're trying to
So the more million.
work that revenue
more
piece,
than
which is something very unique to me.
Okay, Sue, if you can come back with something for us, because I'm missing how something could be 2,500%.
We're not.
Well, so, I mean,
Right.
what does it mean on the paper then?
If I could you just speak a little bit more to, I guess, your relationship with the district? So I understand that you work for a company that's been engaged by the district. Are you working in the school district office? Do you work far away? How much time do you devote to the district?
I live in Westwood, Mass. The contract that
Grew up
Nottingham
in
had.
Marlboro.
Pardon?
Grew up in Marlboro.
Marlboro,
Nice to
okay.
see you.
Good
I
to
love
see you.
Westford.
It's good golf courses there.
Well, good ice cream mostly.
Yeah, and the contract that Nottingham has with TMS is for 2 days a week. So there's myself and another person that works here. We also have some augmented people that help us out in terms of accounting and, different work, functional work like that. So we have a lady, Kate Demetrius, who is doing that all virtually. So I'm in the district 1 day a week. The other person is actually traveling from the Cape. He's here many days during the, many weeks on the day, but sometimes he does work virtually. We've done this in multiple schools and we seem to make progress. And it's a savings, I think, overall for the districts that we work in, because you don't have health insurance, you don't have retirement, you don't have those things, and the rate is typically less than what you'd be paying.
Oh, yeah, healthcare and pensions,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So it's yourself and another person, you're each 1 day a week, and then you're supported by
Some
auxiliary
other
staff.
things, right.
Thank you.
And we found that the model works. I mean, unfortunately, I don't know how many of you are accountants or, you're on a finance board, but there are very few people throughout the entire United States, but I'd certainly say Massachusetts and New Hampshire and Connecticut and Rhode Island, that know how to do fund accounting. And I think that's part of the trouble that school districts have had in New Hampshire or Massachusetts or anywhere, because they bring in folks that are accountants, from cost and profit analysis from a company, or they're a CPA or however, and they come in. And in fund accounting, you have buckets. You have to know what bucket the money's coming from and where it's going. And you have to keep track of your buckets, and they just don't get that. The second piece they often don't get is they don't understand school culture. They don't know how to make sense of certain things in school culture. Not that you can't learn, but unfortunately, often they come in and they struggle, and then they don't stay long enough to really learn it. So that's why the company that I'm working for, really, they're bringing the old guys like me back, saying that, we need people. If you have any relatives going to college and they're a finance major, they can work in a good job, and if it's a young guy or a young gal that wants to coach, they can probably coach in the district and they can really have a nice life. Because there's a real need, there's a shortage.
So noted in the minutes.
We're recruiting.
Yeah.
And one other important thing I think that has been worked on too is the closing up of the fiscal year, the prior fiscal year. The DOE 25 has been a draft gets submitted and then the board will sign off on the final piece, but it was 367, I think, for the fund
Right.
balance.
Right.
Now, we know at prior meetings, last year, early, like in June, we had been given a report that showed a potential $15,000 fund balance. It created a lot of angst, and anxiety and concern. But now that the work has been done to look at this, there are encumbrances maybe that need to be released and things of that nature that impacted that report. So we had a much healthier balance than anticipated, and they were able to fund the capital reserve accounts, which is great. And then moving forward, I think the goal is to have financials that can be used and be reasonably accurate throughout the course of the year, so that, so that really was disconcerting, to say the least.
Yeah.
So,
So Sue, what we were looking for tonight was Q1 update. So is this
would
actually
be
a
the,
Q1 update?
yes, this is
So then,
the Q1 starting July 1.
okay, so then my question to that is, if you look at the expense total, it's saying, net out 69.08% used,
Including encumbrances.
That includes
so-
the
including the
encumbrances.
encumbrances.
So they're taking
Okay.
a look forward with their purchase orders, which having purchase orders in the system enables you to do this. That's why you don't want to have a lot of outstanding one-off
Unknown.
purchases. And so
Okay.
you can go ahead and look at your purchase orders and see how much, and encumber that, even though it hasn't been paid yet. And then it will actually roll through to the expenditure as it's paid out.
Okay,
Yeah, if you look at if you just look at not the assets and liabilities at the top, because I think that's what's throwing some of it off.
That is, thank you, that is.
But so if you look at revenue year-to-date, it's over 5 million, and expenses year-to-date are only 3,500,000, but if you add in the encumbrances, then the expenses are much higher.
got it.
But the actuals, they have more revenue than expense so far, even without the local tax.
Yeah, and those encumbrances, how much would you expect it to change? Like, how far out is that reflected
To the end of the
now?
year, the salaries.
So salaries are encumbered for the whole year.
Okay, so that was the thing, is like, how much are encumbrances going to grow from this point on for the rest of the year?
We will see if we can encumber the FICA and the teacher's retirement, it will grow considerably. And then, as we, get farther along in the year, and most purchases have been made along the way to finish the school year, it will grow, so that gives you a real management control over knowing what, where you're at, so that you're able to manage it well to the end.
Well, hopefully, the encumbrances only reach the level of the appropriation.
Oh,
And
yeah,
if they
yeah.
don't,
Yeah.
then we have a one-off expenditure that's raising.
Well, that's exactly what the speech contracted services
Yeah,
is, it's over encumbered.
Yeah.
But the other speech line wasn't reduced
Right.
to offset.
so that is a big difference in how people are used to looking at this.
Yeah.
Right? At least from my perspective, having been on the budget committee for a long time. Because just at first glance, people would look at this and go, holy cow, it's only Q1 and they're already used over
It's
half.
gonna be 25%.
Yeah, yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Right.
Okay,
So you're getting a more of a forward look because things are encumbered. But that's things have always been encumbered, but it sounds like
Yeah.
they weren't being encumbered ahead. So, and then the encumbrances oftentimes weren't being released, and that's the difference between 15,000 and 367,000.
Right.
Some of it.
right.
And there were a lot of things that were even encumbered improperly, as we're finding. And we're trying to fix up some of those concerns that were not done correctly.
So does the school board find this approach to be helpful?
I think we're still this is the second one that we've received like this. Some of the conversations that we've had is we would like to see the report that we have in the system that does show us line items so you can get a better feel.
Yeah.
So I think that that's something that will be discussed further. I think the summary reports have their place, but as a board, you kind of want to understand, is your building, understand the numbers coming in? Because when the budgets come before us, there's always, you had made one mention that sometimes people put in their requests to build the budget and then it comes back different. but we very rarely have big changes at deliberative. So what happens is as we go through the budget building process with this group and at the board table and the school board, things change and move around. But we don't view it as cutting because it's not a budget yet. It's a budget build. So there may be that perhaps there's a request for supplies for, say, the art room or what have you to support the new kiln. And that would be maybe, a one-time sort of thing or whatever for this year. So things do move and change, as you all know.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's something I'm just a little sensitive to about calling it cutting. It's not cutting until you've already had it and you've had your appropriations and now you find that something has happened and you've got
Yeah.
to cut something. But building a budget is totally different.
Okay.
I think something you've only, if I understand correctly, what you've generally seen is just reports out of Tyler that are very difficult sometimes for the public or even for any of ourselves, to look at, and you have to get orientated to it. What we're prepping the budget as an Excel spreadsheet, and it will show, this was 25, this is 26, this is 27 default, this is 27 proposed, this is the percentage increase on each side, and then there's a notes column. That doesn't exist in Tyler. So there's a note, so if you're seeing a big up or a big down, there can be a concise note. I mean, if somebody wants more detail, we can always find it, but a concise note to say, this was a new program, or this, we didn't need these funds, we didn't need them totally last year, we've come down, or we're going up, but we went down here. So it gives a little bit more, I think,
Notes are really important.
information.
Yeah, I know we've always, Tyler will do all the things that you talked about with
Right.
the prior year budget and all of that, but it had some limitations on the number of characters for notes, but we did have notes in there, of course, so.
Anybody on the budget committee, do you have any comments that you want to make about things that you would like to see or expectations as we go through the budget cycle?
Well, I'm wondering, should we expect a budget that looks, format-wise, different than what we've seen in the past?
I've seen what you've seen in the past, and yes, it's a line item budget. It's every account line that we have.
Well, they've seen.
And I think you've seen that in Tyler, but, it's in, when I saw what went out to the public, it was
So much
huge.
paper.
And, I quite honestly, even myself, didn't thoroughly go
lot,
through
yeah.
it.
So you're saying we are going to continue to get that detail, or we're not
Yes,
going to
you
get
are.
that detail?
You
Okay,
are.
good.
And it will be in about 9 or 10 pages instead of 200 pages.
Well, I mean,
It's-
that's an exaggeration, but.
It is. I mean, it was maybe 20 or so. but,
I mean, I've got-
I appreciated the detail.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah, no, you'll get all the detail on every account.
Okay,
Great.
thanks.
Oh, I had one question, please. So I know a lot of people ask questions. You used to get a sheet, and they finally did, I think last year, maybe on the town side. I think the school did too. With all these fund balance like special education or, it was what's remaining in the accounts. You know how you just read off 120,000 this fund, 228 in this fund.
In the capital reserve accounts?
Yeah, I remember you used to have the whole sheet and what's each one and how much.
That is in the
Yes.
budget.
Yep.
That is in the budget we'll be presenting.
Okay.
What do you mean? How so?
We used
Just
to get a
just
sheet
from what I
last
just
year.
read it from, basically that
Yeah.
it will say, what the previous years had allotted to build, what this current year brought in, and then the total balance.
So that's basically the same as the trustee of the trust funds reports.
It should be.
Yeah.
Okay.
If it isn't for some reason, please let me know.
Which, by the way, is on the website. People can see that on the website, the town website.
And again, that's where, the revenue piece is different for me. But I've also talked to, I have a very good friend that was superintendent in Amesbury, who has now he was first a business manager up in New Hampshire, came to Amesbury, and then he retired a while back and has been working. He said, you really can't get revenue fully done till the end of the year, till December, till it finishes at the town, and then it starts to make sense. So I'll be honest, I'm still trying to work through some of that myself and understand it.
Yeah.
But I think I trust this guy, he did it for 40 years. And he said it's hard, and that's why that number is, showing up that way. And I think also in the past, not having had that closer relationship with the treasurer, that's an elected position, that's gonna help us moving forward.
I know where you were going with that question, though, because you're asking about funds available to fund future expenses, right?
Yeah, but even, how we vote on stuff too, how much is in there, beginning balance, basically.
Yeah.
The warrant article usually
Yeah, in the
says
warrant
what
article, the town, and we asked the question year after year, and they finally came out, we're like, oh, thank you so much, I mean, we all had this question, that fund, or that fund, or this
Yeah,
fund, and
yeah.
they just had it all on one sheet. It was just a lot of good information.
Yep.
What we can do too is to go over the tabs that are in the budget book and just make sure that everyone's aware of the backup information that is required. And so I think that will be something we can work on.
Exactly what we have here on the budget we're prepping. The capital, what I call capital projects and article requests, and it's each account number, the name of the reserve fund, what was added to it this year, and the reason, the explanation after.
All right, anything else, guys?
I had a comment, I favor the reporting and stuff like that, and being able to see like things going on purchase orders rather than all over the place, consolidating, works well. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what's coming out.
Good, thank you. We're trying, we wanna make.
I am a little cautious about the first New Hampshire job, coming from Mass and Rhode Island, but
I've quick study.
yeah.
I went from a music teacher to a business manager to a superintendent in a few different towns.
Yeah.
I've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah.
And I've got some
And
friends
some-
that I've talked to and already, have them on the line if I need them, so I think,
Yeah.
I'm getting a handle on it.
Yeah. Rhode Island and Mass spending habits.
never
They could stay down
right.
there as far as I'm concerned, but
We do expect your presentations to be set to the right soundtrack, however.
Oh, okay, oh, all right. I was a piano major in college.
Okay.
Those chops are sort of gone.
Well, I do appreciate actually having a fresh perspective and hoping that you
Absolutely.
bring some other ideas in, because
I do as
a
well.
lot of New Hampshire schools, with people who are very familiar with how New Hampshire schools work, are not doing very well with their
I-
budgets, and they're in big trouble.
understand.
So I appreciate bringing in some
And
other.
it really comes down to that idea of fund accounting.
Yeah.
Because people don't really understand fund accounting. And it's not taught in college, you sort of learn it when you get into the job.
They don't teach a lot of economics, unfortunately.
It's true.
Parents' job now.
So,
My kids are in
Yeah,
trouble.
we definitely have some towns popping up in New Hampshire that
Yes.
are in some deep doodle.
I got called to be the receiver up in
Claremont?
Claremont.
Claremont.
Yep.
And I said no.
It's a big mess.
Step away.
Get yourself in.
Well, you can borrow
Wow.
$5 million, or the bank can give you $5 million, but that's eventually gonna disappear.
I heard it's over 10 million.
And that comes back to what I said earlier, that we try to bring into, we're not we have been in districts for 15 years, with this model, Ware, Greenfield, different places, where they've been for years, and it's very functional. Our intent here is to set up process and procedures that are in place that are standard. Unfortunately, as I said before, if somebody comes in without some of that experience,
Right.
it's not their fault. They just don't pick up on it as easily. So it's a struggle because people aren't around. So, but I hope by the time I, leave, that whenever that is, that you will feel more comfortable that there's some standardized process and procedures in place. It's only brought, as I said, I've been in education for about 50 years. 12 of them as music teacher, but the rest as, finance. And I've done data, and I had a data business and, all that kind of stuff that got picked up by a group in Florida. So I've seen multiple different school systems. I did school accountability across the country for a firm when I first retired from the educational perspective. So I think I understand the way people think and all the different ways people think. So, it's never perfect.
Right.
There's no one person that can do everything perfectly to fit everybody's mold, but we're gonna try to shape that ball so it fits as many people as we possibly can. And then it can be picked up and run with. I mean, the other difficulty of a small district is your backup systems. You have one bookkeeper, you have one, admin assistant. That's hard if something happens to one of them. It's just,
Right.
it's the nature of a small organization, but if the policy and practices and procedures are in place,
It's easy to pick up on for the next person.
it hopefully is there and can help.
Right.
Coverage.
Right.
It is good to get the practices in place, and that's
Oh,
a goal that the
absolutely.
board has had out there for a bit, and we're seeing some action
Yeah.
on that at this point, getting procedures and things, so that's really good.
No, I think the experience, like you said, you're bringing here, that's a lot. I mean, we're seeing it in every industry, right? A lot of people retired and you're just not getting the, experience. Unfortunately, it's not their fault. It just takes time to come in. You might see something in different states. Hey, this is a great idea. It works. Or, hey, don't do this. It doesn't work too good. You know what I mean? So it's good to
And
See
the
other,
nature of discussion and learning now on the job is very different because the world has changed. This is really, you learn this job through a mentorship, an internship kind of program. And you don't necessarily get that when you're just emailing or texting somebody, how do you do this, how do you do that? There has to be a little broader explanation. Sometimes I get blamed for having emails that are a little too long. And I'm probably too wordy and taking too much of your time tonight, and I'm sorry, but it does try to create more of a context and a culture so people understand what you're trying to get to. So
people do learn differently. Guys, we got like Tech U now, right? They learn by videos, watching. Some people read something, they read into it, and it sends them down the different direction. I see it all the time. Like, you missed this one step. Where you know what I mean? You have to read it again with them, and they finally get it.
So I think this has been great. Thank you for coming in. I think
Yeah,
it's
thank you.
helpful to the committee to just kind of get to meet you, to understand your approaches, your philosophy, and I think that's gonna help as we go through the budget season.
He is ahead of the curve a bit too, because he did present a default budget to the board at our last meeting.
Right.
Deeply involved, already in process with the operating budget, so.
Good, we'll look forward to seeing that next week.
Yeah. Schedule, it will be there.
It
Well,
is.
that's one of the questions, I think, is will it be ready? I think that's one of the questions coming up is will it be ready next week?
Thank you very much.
thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice to
Can I
meet
stay
you.
for the school facilities report? or-
Oh, you can,
Oh,
it's the facilities committee
the
report.
subcommittee.
Yeah, just,
Yeah, I mean, we can do it now if you
Yeah, why don't we
want.
do it now?
Yeah, go right ahead.
Okay.
You're welcome to stay.
Yeah. You wanna just jump ahead to that? Facilities committee?
Yeah, that's fine, the facilities.
I don't
meeting.
have anything on facilities right now.
Well, I mean,
Has the committee met, or,
No,
no, okay.
the committee did a walkthrough of the police station.
not that I was aware
That's
of.
the
That's
town
the different, that's the town
facilities committee.
facilities committee, I know. I found
Oh,
this agenda
sorry.
very
Yeah, yeah, okay.
confusing. I'm
Got it.
complete tonight.
To Caroline Brown.
Okay.
I'll follow up tonight. So
Yeah,
I think
we'll
they
get
may
together
have
after.
met. I had given your contact info to them, so I'll close that loop again, make sure. I think they met briefly, but I'll follow up.
So there's your update, Paul.
I can remember it all.
Bit of an update on
I just saw something on the agenda,
I
and
just
I
want to know
didn't
what
know
the darn
whether
election was doing.
I should stay. Anything else I should stay for?
Well, I mean, they.
Oh, it's
have te-
riveting.
They've
You're-
tested,
You're more than welcome to, but you're also more than welcome to not.
so for facilities though, they have tested the system, I think people are curious about
Oh,
that.
yeah, that's our
It's,
with bated breath.
people with kids in the school probably can
It's all good?
Yeah, things,
So far, so good, huh?
yeah, so far so good, Rex, yeah.
Glycol.
So the system was pulled apart over the summer.
Yep.
We replaced piping and tested the glycol. And the glycol was, before we went into it, we retested the glycol. It had only been from February until May, June. And it was already starting to
Break down.
thicken up and break
Acidic or
down.
something?
So that just tells you how fast it goes.
Yeah.
So now there's a process in place to treat it on a regular basis, and the pipes have been replaced that were corroding, and all the other little sundry parts.
And I have to let you know that you have the best school facilities report I have ever seen anywhere.
Huh?
Yeah.
Your fellow Scott there is outstanding.
Is it Scott
And
Brown?
I have honestly even shared it with a couple people to say,
This is how it should be. Well, that's good to know.
so you have one of the most thorough,
That maintenance plan that goes through the state and everything, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I was very
He
impressed.
goes above and beyond in his presence,
He does.
Okay, let's,
and over vacations and stuff like
As
that.
do many people, I'm sure,
Yeah,
in the
the
district.
two new boilers in there's $250,000, so they want to stay on
Things
top of it.
running.
okay, good.
Go on.
Let's move back to.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Have a
Paul.
great day.
Thank you,
Take
Paul.
care.
Thank you. Minutes review for the 9/11/25 meeting.
Oh,
They were sent
Edits.
out. Okay,
One over and over, I believe, Sue's name was spelled incorrectly in every
Reference
every
to her.
instance.
She became Sue Leverson instead of Levinson. So it starts up at the numbers present.
Yeah, I mean, it's all throughout the document, there's no,
Okay.
line numbers, unfortunately. That was my edit.
yeah, that's the line numbers missing.
That's, oh yeah, there are line numbers.
Anyone else?
Oh, I just wanted to, on the second page, under 8, committee reports, I think we should clarify, it says committee reports, number 8, CIP committee, and then facilities committee. I think it'd be helpful if we had school facilities committee.
Yep.
Since that also confused me.
With the town.
And nobody here is on the town facilities committee, right?
I am.
Oh, because we should add that as getting an update.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so I was not prepared for the Q3.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I was prepared for the facilities, but it wasn't on the agenda, so
We'll-
sorry, I apologize.
okay.
But if and when you wanna add that, I'm
I'm gonna
happy to
recommend
tell
that
you.
we add it to our regular committee report.
Yep.
Okay, anything else on the minutes?
No, no.
So we've got two changes. One is making sure that we clarify under section 8 that we're talking about the school facilities committee. And then the second is making sure that Sue Levinson's name is correct throughout the minutes, not being Ms. Leverson, but Ms. Levinson.
And,
Yes. With that, I'll take a motion to accept as amended.
I move that we accept the minutes of September 11th as amended.
Second.
Karen was a split second.
I'm not offended.
Okay, so motion made by Charlotte and seconded by Karen, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Okay. All right, committee reports.
Did you guys happen to catch my name?
Yeah, we did, yeah. We were wondering if you would change your name.
Doesn't really
It was very
matter.
consistently wrong.
All
right, let's go back to committee reports. CIP.
So we've met multiple times. And we heard and spread out between different meetings from the department heads, so they presented to CIP already, they're gonna present to the Board of Selectmen, although that's slightly different because that's operating budget, not just CIP. But there's a new form that was developed, which I think is really useful, so each of the projects that will go on the big spreadsheet will have backup detailed from that form. And when did we say we were gonna, the budget committee won't see that stuff until November?
Yeah, I think we said like the November 6th meeting.
So it's very close to done, and there were a couple, we just met on Monday night. There were a couple of items that we were hoping John would follow up with the Board of Selectmen about to clarify like which year it would be in or whether it's likely to go forward or not. And then, so I think we scheduled one more meeting to just finalize it again, and then it will come to the budget committee in November.
One of the things I'm excited about is that I think that the work that the committee, CIP committee has done this year is gonna be really helpful to this committee. Because there's been a lot of time and energy put into it, meeting with the department heads and all of that, so I think it's gonna be real helpful.
And it covers 10 years now, so it really, so that's where I really think it will actually be more useful than it was in the past to look at those reserve funds and trying to figure out
Yep.
how much to put into each reserve fund, knowing the timing of when the money will also get drawn out.
Yep.
To the extent, it's hard to estimate, obviously, the cost of things that far out, but the stuff in the near term have pretty good estimates, so.
Yeah, it also is gonna show like their recurring
Yes.
purchases, like
Which there's
things,
many.
Much more helpful.
things like tasers and drones have a shorter
Police cruisers
expected.
Consumable.
Exactly,
Exactly.
so it kind of shows that pattern over 10 years, how many
Yeah.
times we're gonna have to invest in those
Sure.
things.
Even the big trucks, some of them repeat because they'll be, or there's more than one, so there's more than one purchase over the course of 10 years.
Yep.
So yeah, I think it's actually a much better shape than it used to
Tool.
be.
I think it'll be taken more seriously as well, because it's always been pushed to the back, and I think last year we made some progress with that, and this year, really
Much done,
crossing
much
all the
earlier.
Ts, dotting all the I's.
I think looking that far out's a good idea.
Yeah.
For
I do
sure.
too. It's funny, there is some pushback about that, because, some department heads are like, oh, how do we know what we're
It's
gonna,
hard to.
but
estimate.
it's
It
still.
shouldn't have to be overwhelming, but it's nice to just have a view.
Exactly.
The
And
further you can see out, the better you can
like
anticipate for things
Paul
that
was
you
talking
can.
about,
run into.
planning, that's, you really do have to put,
It doesn't mean you
You have
can't
to put time
add
in.
stuff, as it goes, time
or
goes on.
change it, of
to add
course,
or
yeah,
change.
yeah. But I think it'll be taken a lot more seriously as a useful tool.
Yeah, and
Thanks, guys.
the estimates will get refined over time, so like
Yeah.
when we're looking at things that are recurring purchases, like if we're paying this much this year, we're saying, okay, how much roughly do we think it's gonna increase by in 5 years and then 10 years? So we're trying to build in what we think the cost increases are gonna be. Those are gonna get refined every year as we go through it, so. That's great. Yep, do you wanna give a town facilities report?
Yeah, sure. We have met twice, and we did, if anybody doesn't know, the Barbara Draper, who was on the committee, passed away this year
Oh.
very quickly. Suddenly, yeah, it's too bad, that was a loss. She was a realtor and very active, and she passed away. We now have 5 folks on the committee, and we met for organization. We're gonna meet once a month, and we met this past week with the police chief, Fawn Woodman, and we went through the facilities again. Not a lot has changed since we were last there. There are significant issues with the police facility, and yeah, they're significant. And just the location as well is, now that this has become a very active childcare facility, and we're so limited, there aren't even enough parking spaces for the police cars. So that's something I'll be looking for in the, CIP is, what plans we have for the future with that. I think they make the best of a bad situation, but there are so many potential problems, particularly with technology and preserving technology as the safety of where things are stored. Yeah, it's quite problematic, but I think they're doing a great job, and they seem to be retaining people. The culture seems to be changing to be much more collaborative, a bit more progressive, and they are retaining officers, which is
That's
huge
fantastic.
now. That's what we want for every department, right? So that's really terrific. But there are, there's a leak in a supply closet. There's, only one shower. There isn't a meeting room, and the technology has changed so much. I mean, when you think just a few years ago, they didn't even have computers in the police cars, which is unbelievable to me. That is very expensive investments that we should think about trying to protect.
Storage areas for some of their
Storage
equipment.
areas and even garaging, those, we've got a lot of money invested, and we've got a big town to cover. You know,
Yes.
people sometimes say, well, why do we need so many, you know, small town, but it's small in population, but not small in area to cover, and we all want, you know, coverage in our area. So they put a lot of miles on those, and they are basically highly technological offices on wheels. And there's no place to put them that's covered. Yeah, so they're
Charlotte, what's the,
challenges.
what's kind of like the charter and timeline for the committee?
Well, that's a good question. The first, you know, as you may remember, 3 years ago, we formed a committee for a year, and I was kind of disappointed that that was just then broke up and didn't continue. I think we produced a document that was useful, and a lot of the things that we pointed out have been taken care of. I mean, it's kind of encouraging when you actually, we still got so much to do, but when you actually look at all that's been accomplished in the last couple of years in terms of our facilities, we really have made progress, which is very encouraging. It is not clear to me. So I think we're starting out very slowly. We're re-upping all the information, but I would like to see this as a continuing group, and that's something we'll have to discuss with the TA and the rest of the select board, I think, to really establish that. I think we all know that we want facilities management, and I would even think about at some point trying to push this into having a more cohesive sort of DPW that's in with the highway department, that maybe eventually we could do our own you know, lawn cutting and grass cutting to save money. But, you know, maybe eventually we could have a part-time maintenance person who also plows roads and has other, you know, a public works department. That's my hope from that as an individual, but we haven't clarified that yet as a group. We're a new group, and we've been having a hard time finding times to meet because we're all in other committees that are meeting all the time, so. But anyway, the police department continues to do a great job, but it's very problematic and not getting better. There's the situation of where they're parking and where they're located.
I'm not up to speed on the CIP. How, a fix for that, how far would that be out?
So they would actually have the initial, what do you call it, not architectural, but a study, like a $40,000, it's a pretty low number.
It's a low number.
Um,
We do have.
like assessment, to site
Yeah.
assessment.
Yep,
do
I was,
have the
I was aware
original
of that, I
plans.
just
Yeah,
didn't know
yeah.
when.
Which would be next, so if that
When we're
goes,
talking when
You'll
this
still
would
be
take
alive and paying
place.
taxes.
so if that goes on the warrant for March, then they would start that work next 26.
I'm not talking the work, I'm talking building it.
Right, building
Right,
it,
so
not
then,
assessment.
so depending on like what
Yeah.
comes out of that on the CIP, I think they have it starting in 27 as a bond, so it'd be bond payment.
Yes, you'll see on the CIP that we have said, okay, if that gets approved and goes forward, here's what we anticipate bond payments to look
Right.
like.
Yeah,
So it would be soon.
that'd be a big project. I'm a little concerned that we're talking rearranging this building and our police department losing parking or this, or they're outgrowing it quicker because decisions are being made
I think we're
within what's
beyond the
going on in
piecemeal
this
part.
building.
There are plans that go back a few years that included the police with the fire department,
Yep.
which I know we've talked about.
Mhm.
And those plans still exist.
Yep.
Now, how that works
What's
out with
changed
today's,
since
what's
then?
changed since then, everything. But starting with those, looking at those, I mean, in an ideal world, and I'm certainly no engineer, it would be great to have a safety facility. I mean, we could save so much money having
Yeah.
one parking lot, one set of lights, one, you know, there are bedrooms there if police had to stay overnight, if there was, you know, some kind of emergency.
Well, this was planned out and thought about that going down there. I
Right.
like the idea because it's close to the school.
Yep.
It's,
But not in the school, the
it's
way we've
not
got,
in the,
you
it's
know,
not
the
in there,
kids
but it's
all.
in a close proximity, and it's in a close proximity to downtown as well.
Yep.
so.
I like that location. Now, maybe there are other reasons. I don't know how much, personally, I do not know how much land is there or, you know, what the expectations are. My expectation would not be to build a police Taj Mahal, but to, you know, put that on and use those facilities. I mean, town after town after town is doing that safety complex because it saves money, it's practical, and those are two departments that work closely together. I mean,
Sure.
they should be together, it makes sense. Instead of having two facilities that you have to have cleared out all the time, well lit all the time, have coverage for their vehicles all the time. So that would make sense to me. But again, I'm speaking as an individual, not as, you know,
Yeah,
from the
sure.
facilities
Yeah.
committee, so
Yep.
we'll see.
Oh, I appreciate it.
So Charlotte, you met with the police and your plan is to meet with each?
Yes, I'm sorry, I didn't go on. Yes, that will continue at their convenience, which is what we did originally. And that'll help us update, oh, that was done, but here's a new problem, you know, whatever.
Right.
But we're, for the first time since I've been here, I feel like we're making more progress than we are slipping backwards. It's slow progress, but because, you know, we only have so much money. But I feel like we're getting a little bit ahead of the ball game and thinking way ahead to manage our finances better. So we'll, and I don't have an order for you, but I'm happy to. And I have to say, it is fascinating to get in and talk to the department heads and really look at where they work and what the impediments or advantages are. What are the daily things that might be as simple as, gee, our bulbs go up all the time and we don't have a big ladder to get up and change them, and we don't really have anybody to call unless my
Yeah.
friend Joe Schmo comes over and fixes them. So those kinds of things.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to hear both the problems or issues they have now, but also, like you said, what has been done. And for the
Yep.
town to hear that.
Yeah, because you
I think
forget.
That's important.
I forget
Yes.
sometimes too, because I go, oh,
Yes.
you know, I want to.
So we are making some progress.
There has been, and I'll tell you, the library in particular has really completed some big projects that by not having them put us at such liability and inconvenience and all, I mean, it's now handicapped accessible, truly handicapped accessible. You know, so much has been improved. Heating issues everywhere, HVAC issues, but we really are making progress. So that's good news.
And the heating issue, I think, is on the CIP.
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
For like next year.
HVACs, you know, they're just, these buildings are.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent, thank you, Charlotte. So
Something.
calendar review. So I was texting with Owen because he had on the agenda the 23rd or the 30th for the next meeting. He said he put it that way because he was just kind of like going back and forth in his head on the two dates, partly because he's not going to be available next week, but he then concluded by saying his recommendation is that we keep the 23rd.
Well, I guess the question is, will the default budgets be ready? Because if they're
Correct.
not,
Yeah.
then we don't even,
Correct, yeah.
doesn't make sense to me. So I guess we don't know for the town.
I don't know.
And what do you guys
Oh,
meet?
gonna have
We're
another
meeting,
absence on that
sorry.
date, too. 23rd.
Yeah,
It was.
I don't remember who.
It was either
oh,
Jim or
Lincoln, maybe?
It was either Jim or
Jim
Lincoln.
Stevens.
Yeah, I think it was him.
Jim.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we have seen a draft of the default. We meet again on the 22nd. And I
So that wouldn't
think that
give
we
much
need to
time.
be able to have turnaround time to get it to you folks for study review before the meeting. But there should be some minor changes to it, and I would expect that just on the 22nd.
So potential maybe to still meet on the 30th.
Yep, so to move
So
the
keep
meeting.
it open.
So
So I think
keep
the
the
question is,
30th.
do we move the meeting that's currently on the 23rd to the 30th?
I would if everybody's good with it here.
yeah, I think so.
Be
I am-
safer.
I am.
Yeah.
If nobody is, then.
No, no, I am.
I'm not.
I would rather.
But
But you're not.
You're not.
guys, yeah, it's too close to Halloween for me.
Oh.
If you haven't been to his house, it's
You could
one
wear
of the
your
more
costume
impressive.
in.
Although I would have thought you would have it done.
It's too close to Halloween. I like
Okay,
that.
so-
we could just say.
That's from last
They
minute
do like
things.
full on haunted house. So.
Last week.
We could probably have, we could get it to you in the morning that day if you wanted to keep the 23rd. We're meeting the 22nd.
What do you feel comfortable with?
Is the calendar do that?
That's
Yeah,
the question.
that's what I'm
You
asking.
know, I really owe you all an apology. I missed the last select board meeting. Our TA is out of town.
Yeah.
I had expected the Q3 budget to be in here.
So I think based
I
on that, we
apologize.
should say the 30th.
Yeah.
Move
Yeah,
to the
it's-
new-
I was thinking an oddball thing, and everybody's gonna wanna shoot me, it may be 2 meetings, but maybe do the 23rd and we decide on the 23rd if we wanna do the 30th, or
Yeah, we could do that.
just switch it to the 30th.
Just go to
It
the
doesn't
30th.
sound like anyone is going to be ready.
They're not going.
So let's just go to the 30th, but we'll hope that you guys have the
Yeah.
information
Better, yeah.
that you need, that we're looking for then.
Yep.
And then you will have.
So just so I
time to have it
understand,
ready.
we're gonna move it to the 30th, we think?
Right.
Get
We're
rid of
still
the
gonna meet on the
23rd.
23rd?
I don't think
No.
we have any reason to meet on the 23rd, because the next task is the default budgets.
Okay, got it. So penciling
So we will not meet on the 23rd, we'll move to the 30th, and we'll look forward to the town and the school both having their complete updated default budgets. Excellent. And, oh, by the way, on those, if you guys can please try and send them out in advance,
Right,
like not Thursday morning.
right, that's,
But like, you know, Tuesday-ish would be great so that everybody has a chance to
so if
look
we
at
meet
it.
on Wednesday and anything gets changed or what have you, then they could send it out to you obviously by Monday, I would hope.
Yeah, that would be ideal, so
That'd be
everybody
great.
has a chance to look. Okay. Next item was operating procedures update and vote. So this was something that I think Owen has shared with everyone.
Yep.
We deferred the vote on it last meeting to this meeting. And I think what we're looking to do is to kind of approve this, sign it, and move on. It's pretty clear in terms of the expectations of members' duties, what our role is, what we're trying to accomplish. So does anybody have any questions or discussion on this?
Didn't we sign it last week?
We did it
Last
because it
time?
needed to be have some updates.
Yeah,
Oh,
that,
okay.
that was
So we
my
just
question.
He was gonna make
So
those
it's been
updates.
revised.
Oh, I'm gonna check. Okay,
I'll make a motion.
that's all right.
I
it
move
looked
that
clean.
we vote to approve and adopt the operating procedures as written.
I'll second.
All right, motion by Jill, second by Karen to accept the operating procedures as documented. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
I'm gonna get Owen's copy and we could sign his.
Yeah, I mean, I got that one too, but,
Oh, you have one?
yeah,
Okay,
it's in
all right.
everybody's book.
Yeah,
Yeah, we all have one. I was gonna keep it though.
Oh,
And then, right?
Just sign Owens.
That's what I was.
yeah,
Bad
I
idea.
mean, it doesn't really matter, Karen, because I have these documented as well. I mean, I have the file.
You do.
Yeah, I guess.
Okay, so we'll
So
just sign
let's-
yours, that's fine.
Pass that down, we'll all sign that.
He's got Owens. That's Owens.
Oh.
It doesn't matter, she.
Oh, I was looking for names over, I didn't see.
Such an impressive.
I see that's so small, I just grab one over.
Sign with
I gotcha.
authority.
Childish one, and I have to sign all those checks.
Oh, I hate signing checks.
that, oh my gosh. Did you keep catching me, because it keeps catching me? I'm just passing through.
I know, right? There you
Just
go.
signed 200 checks.
All right, well, that is going through. Any new business, anything that anyone wants to bring up at this time?
I just have one quick thing, I forgot to mention, just so you're aware, we are working, right now on a teacher's contract. And of course, there won't be any updates until that is more finalized, but it will be coming to you timely. And we are also working on a Co-Brown tuition agreement. We met with them and we're at the point now where our board will look at it and their trustees, so we think we're pretty much, good to go. So it's not public yet, but it should be soon, and then we'll be ready well ahead of any deadlines with
Right.
that.
Excellent. All right,
A lot on your plate.
with that, once we,
The bus contracts aren't this year, are they? Sue?
They're next year. I believe, I'll double check.
Yeah, wasn't it a 3-year contract, is that what we're trying to do again?
I'll check,
I was curious, and this is, you know, for next time,
Get a good one.
whether the budget included 2 buses for Dover, cause it looks like they encumbered more than it was budgeted, which there should be, should go in the other direction if you have an extra.
Okay.
It's budgeted.
all right, barring anything else, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Adjourn. Oh, I move that we adjourn.
Motion by Charlotte,
Second.
An enthusiastic motion.
second by Carol, all in favor. Anyone opposed? Anyone want to abstain?